Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to review Visions by Michio Kaku. I think I'm saying his name correctly. He's the author of Hyperspace, which is a book I believe I may have reviewed here in the past. He's quite a good author. He's very readable. And this is a book of predictions, written in 1998. It predicts the technology in 3 stages. It predicts up to 2020, from 2020 to 2050, and from 2050 to 2100. And it deals with the revolutions that we've undergone in science when it comes to the unlocking the genetic code, quantum mechanics, and with computer technology. And how these 3 are going to be supporting each other and in some cases fusing together in the future. And even though we're only in the year 2012, I mean, it's almost 2013, he's done a fairly decent job of making some predictions already. I was quite impressed by this fact. For example, he had imagined that there would be something called a tag, which you would wear, which would essentially passively alert the world around you to your presence. Now, we don't have those, but what we do have are texting and Twitter accounts. So you have tweets. So even though people are actively doing that, they are essentially telling the world where they are and what they're doing on a constant basis. Not to mention that there is photo features in many smartphones and such which tag your location. So you take a picture, people automatically know where you are and where that picture was taken. So he got very close on that particular piece of technology. Another thing he nailed completely was the concept of a pad, which was a book-like device, which you would flat screen computer, which you would use to help you interface with the world around you. And even though the generic term is tablet, the Apple version is known as an iPad. Again, completely nailed that one. I think that some of the biological leaps that he thought that we might have had by now have been lagging a little bit behind schedule. Not completely unheard of. Things don't move quite the same in biology as they do in technology. There is no Moore's law when it comes to biology. And he discusses things, for example, about the eventual computers based on lasers or computer based on actual quantum computing, which would be pretty much the end step for all of the computer needs of the future. And there are people working on these right now. So these are technologies that are in the works, even though we're not anywhere near, even close to seeing any of these things become applicable. It was a very interesting book. It was very entertaining. I think he discusses things that are as close as hard science as you can get. He only very briefly touches upon topics which I feel fall completely into the science fiction milieu, such as dealing with time travel and faster than light drives, things like that. I don't think those things are ever going to be possible. From the physics I've been reading, time travel isn't going to work. There are, under some very extreme conditions, the possibility of using time travel, for example, by creating a permanent wormhole between 2 locations, one on the planet and one on a ship that's moving near the speed of light, simply through conventional means. You would be able to have that wormhole essentially be a time machine, because as the ship moves away from you, time dilation means that the crew on board would eventually get to star systems very far away, very far in the future, and be able to step back through that wormhole into our world, kind of having jumping through time and kind of avoiding the whole problem of being way out there, way in the future. But to keep a wormhole permanent would take more energy than like our sun can produce ever. So not what you'd call practical. It very much falls into the category of theoretical, and I don't think it's ever going to actually be made. However, other than those very brief touches on things that I think fall into the category of science fiction, the book is all solid, hard science, and I find that very refreshing. Yes, it's cutting-edge science. Some of it has not yet been discovered, but he's talking about things that are based on laws that we understand, and laws that we predict we will understand as our science learning expands. It's a very good book, and I think it's a very essential book for anyone that wants to write any kind of science fiction that falls into the category of hard science fiction. If you want to write short stories, novels, or role-playing games, any kinds of those things that would benefit from having a foundation in hard science, even if you want to tack on things that aren't hard science after that fact, having a solid foundation in reality and in the possibilities of the future that will be reality, I think will give a piece of fiction a level of depth and of texture that is missing from a lot of the atomic rocket school of 50s and 60s fiction. It was just like no one really paid attention to the details. It was just like, oh, cool, let's go off and do these awesome things. Yes, awesome things are great. But if you have awesome things based on a solid foundation, I think they're even more awesome. So I really do recommend this book. Again, it's very readable. It's very approachable. His style is very pleasant. He speaks to you, and you very much have that sensation that he's sitting across the table from you having a conversation with you. So there's not a lot of hoops to jump through as far as having to have a solid grasp of math, for example, which I'm very weak in. Having some understanding of quantum mechanics already will help, but I don't think it's essential. I've read up on it as much as a layperson can, so that helped me to grasp what he was talking about and move through those chapters a little faster. But I don't think it's necessary. I think he explains things, fluidly and completely. So again, I definitely recommend this book for anyone who is a fan of science or a fan of science fiction.